Hello, everyone.
From the Black Swan Media Studios, deep inside a secret underground bunker, we're speaking to freedom-loving patriots from all around the country and the world. Welcome to the Resistance. This is John Crump, live.
All right, everyone, we are back. I'm still struggling, but I'm going to make it through. It's very important that we do this. And if you want to complain about the clickbaity title, I was not the one who did it. That would be Rich. Rich did the clickbaity title. I just said, hey, we got a lot of news to talk about, so let's go ahead and go live, because originally we we're going to cancel. And then all of a sudden I see breaking news. I'm like, okay. Well, maybe you know something I don't. Let's go ahead and bring them on. Hi, Rich.
Hey, well, thanks for throwing me under the bus.
I'm not throwing you under the bus. People are like, what's the breaking news? I'm like, there's news.
Yeah, there's news.
Who said it was breaking news? And people are like, well, that's what your thumbnail says. I'm like, ooh.
It's got to be breaking news.
I guess it's your definition. And let's go ahead and bring on the man, the myth, the guy who shares the same hairstyle you do. Yeah, Pincus. Rob Pincus. And Rob Pincus and I don't agree on a lot of stuff, but we do agree on this, on the stuff we're going to be talking about today.
I thought you were going to say something like this, like the breaking news. Rob and John agree on.
Well, I have freaking COVID brain, so
yeah, you got the. Later, you can just tell me, look, I don't even know what I was doing. I didn't mean to have Pincus on. I had the COVID.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, Pincus.
You know what's funny is, Rob, I was thinking about having you on because we got breaking news. And I figured, you'd be a good person to have.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what the breaking news is. I'm with John.
I don't either.
I think that's the problem. Is there's a lot of people talking about things and none of it's news. It's kind of the same things we've been saying since April, except now it's getting really real in 24 hours, 36 hours.
All right. I want to ask you a question because I think we're on the same page and you've seen a lot of the same things I have seen. And there's certain companies that are under the impression that they're going to be able to sell the frames by themselves and not risk like the wrath of the ETF.
Yeah. So let's, like, just for my sanity, we're talking about kits. We're talking about the polymer style kits, whether it's polymer 80, 80% arms, SS80. And we're talking about what I'm going to refer to as frame precursors, right? These aren't frames, right? They're non-guns. That's kind of the position we've all held for a long time, is that the thing that's inside this box, inside this jig, is a frame precursor, if you want to say that. It's not a frame, right? This is not a gun. It's not a firearm. It's not any of that. And I think if we're understanding the ATF new rules as well as we can, this still isn't a firearm. However, there is the concern that after this new rule change goes into effect, that this plus this with these is going to be treated like a firearm.
Yeah, and even if you buy them separately.
Yeah. So we know that much, that I think everybody pretty much agrees that, yeah, what they've said is, as of the new rule change, all of this together will be considered an unserialized firearm. Therefore, can't be sold through the mail, can't be sold without a background check, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a theory that's been running around, and see, here's let me go through it. The theory is if you take the jig away from the plastic precursor and you just sell this, these things are out there. You could 3D print these. You could maybe get these on eBay, used ones, whatever. Who knows how many of these I have piled up, and anybody who's been into this hobby has a bunch of these piled up. So we're not really worried about how you get that right now. There's this theory that you can sell this and you'll be fine, and the ATF won't do anything about it. The problem is, not only has that not been verified with the ATF, despite 4 months for retailers and manufacturers to have asked them if that was yes or no, we also have this rumor going around, and I'm going to throw Polymer 80 out there because that's what I keep hearing. Polymer 80 is going to sell just the precursor in the box without the jig.
That's what I heard.
4 months to do that. It's not in the distributor chains. It's not with the wholesalers. It's not with the distributors. They're not selling to retailers. As far as I know, every retailer I've talked to that has an account with Polymer 80, they can't order just a box with this thing and no jig. They can order serialized kits, which is a whole different animal anyway, but they can't just order these. So while this rumor is going around, here's my concern. 2 things. One, don't think, like right now I'm in Denver, right? In the city and county of Denver, I cannot have unserialized guns. I can have this today. I wouldn't put it past the city and county of Denver to charge me with having an unserialized gun based on the new federal rules on Friday. So these things will not be at my place in Denver on Friday. Today I can have them legally. I'm not so sure about it Friday, and I don't want to be the test case on this. So if you're a private person who lives in one of these jurisdictions where you could have the kits, but you couldn't have an unserialized firearm, I would say tread carefully, because by federal definition, that kit that you bought yesterday is going to be treated as an unserialized firearm, potentially by your local state or city jurisdiction as well. Nevada, California, et cetera. So that's one thing. The second thing is there's retailers out there saying, hey, don't worry, guys, we have some inventory left. We're going to pull the jigs out of our boxes, and we're just going to sell you this thing in the box, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's what started the whole conversation. And
yeah, they're doing it
you're on
this rumor of what Polymer 80 said, and I don't know that that's real. So that's where we are.
And if there's stuff in the Division 80 case and the Morehouse case. Talking about the Morehouse case, Rob, I don't know if you are aware, but the plaintiffs in the Morehouse case, they're in the chat right now.
Oh, good. I did not know that. Do they have any breaking news? Did they have breaking news?
No, I talked to Rob right before I got on here, Olson.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything.
Yeah, he said the next 8.5 hours are a shrug. He's not sure what's going to happen when I talked to him earlier. So I mean, it would be great if there was an injunction. Of course, I saw the news this morning. I shared a bunch of posts about the changes. Again, a little bit of clickbait. At the end of the day, when you go in there, it's more like corrections and typos. I don't know that the judge is going to consider them significant enough to force an injunction in that technical foul.
Yeah, technically, by the letter of the law, you have to have any change of 30 days. But judges sometimes, there's the difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law.
Yeah, let me ask you this. We'll go, but we'll circle back to the frame precursors and the jigs and all that, because I am very curious. When you read the actual changes, I think there was like 8 of them. When you read the changes, did any of them jump out at you like, oh, that's significant, and not just basically a typo?
Like I said, like when you texted me this morning, you said, hey, do you have the changes? And I was like, yeah, I don't think that they're that big of a deal. And I sent them to you.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing, the replacing of I did a video on it, sorry. The replacing of the word firearm with frames and receivers, I mean, that could be considered something there. But I mean,
yeah, I have them here. That one I think was confusing. I think the other one where there was a cross reference to the definition of privately made firearm potentially created inconsistencies. I think that clearly created an inconsistency, and that one was maybe one of the most significant ones. I don't know that it changed anybody's behavior, right? So here's my fear: is that if you went by the old way it was written, that could cause.
All right, we're going live. Hold on. We got something here.
Uh-oh.
We're going
Breaking
live
news.
on both channels. Hold on. Let me just edit.
Sorry, I wasn't lying then?
No, you weren't lying. Let
You
me
have
go live
lottery numbers.
to my other channel
So,
here.
Rob, I got a question for you. In your opinion,
Okay, hey,
if
Rich, I got breaking news, man. Come on.
Break it.
I thought you're clicking the buttons.
We were going to
Well,
side
yeah, I
chat
got
while you figured it out. But maybe everybody wants to watch you ponder.
Okay, so the judge chief Peter Walton finding as moot motion oral argument denying motion for preliminary injunction.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, not terribly shocked. Well, was that just based on today's, like, hey, they made changes, or is that overall?
That's just from today.
And that's in the frame and receiver case.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, Rob, in your opinion, if this is a firearm, and I'm asking you because you ran build classes.
Right.
If this is a firearm, can I hand it to you and ask you to do work on it?
See, that's a really good question, right? So one of the things that I have on record, I've got the ATF, a local agent on record in two different cases, actually, following the train of logic that if I drill the holes and if I remove the parts that are impeding the installation of the slide and the guide rod, so I do the drilling and the milling, at that point, it's a gun. They would treat it like a gun. I can't sell it to somebody. Like, I've made it into a gun because it will receive the parts. Therefore, this whole issue of I can't borrow somebody's tools or I can't get help from someone to finish the build goes out the window, right? Once I've made it a firearm to the point where I could get charged with, taking it on an airplane or something, at that point, now I should be able to hand it to you and get that help, or borrow your Dremel and use the Dremel to clean up the rough edges, right? As long as the parts would go in, it doesn't have to be reliable. And the example I always use is if I'm at the range and some guy says, hey, I've seen you on YouTube on John Crump's show, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on with Crump all the time. We agree on a couple things. And then he says, can you help me make my gun work? Because his gun's not working. I can take it from him, disassemble it, see a broken spring, fix it, file something, sandpaper something, lubricate the thing, put it back together, hand it back to him, and it's fine. So yes, right, by that same argument, if this is now considered a firearm, it's already a firearm, so there is no private making happening. And that's the crux, right? That's why we're in a very gray area. So if federal law considers, let me put all my parts back together, this a firearm now, well, I've got I kind of feel like it's 1968, right? Like, I've got this gun, was not registered, no one has a record of it being sold to me, but now I've got it. And if I want to transfer it to anybody else, or if I want to send it to a gunsmith to get stippled or Cerakoted or whatever, now it has to be recorded and it has to have a serial number applied to it. And that's a new facet of gun ownership. It's something in my lifetime has never existed. I've never had to worry about this before. Now I've got this gun that can't shoot, can't take parts, but technically that's a firearm federally, as I understand the law, starting Friday. And that is another one of the areas. And I'm afraid we're going to see people who are not meaning to be shall not comply and who are not meaning to be civilly disobedient. We're going to get hemmed up because they don't even realize the ramifications of what's happening in the next 36 hours.
Yeah. So it sucks. If you're just joining us now, the motion for preliminary injunction has been denied by the judge, finding as moot. So there you go.
And just to clarify, I know a couple people in the industry. John, you know everybody. Rich, you know a handful and a half of people. None of us have any confirmation that any of the major retailers or any of the manufacturers of kits are actually moving forward with any plan to sell anything that isn't serialized. Is that what you guys understand?
I don't know of anyone like I said. There were rumors going around about Poly 80.
Yeah, I know the rumors.
I haven't heard anything like that.
The rumors at this point because they're unverified, and as I said, there's no evidence to support them, right? Because they could have been selling these things all along if they were going to sell them that way. One of the things that bothers me, and I'm not in a position to do it. Like I don't make kits. I've never made kits, right? But it bothers me that none of these companies, as far as I know, took the opportunity over the last 4 months to inundate the ATF with a whole bunch of different versions of potentially saleable kits. Because that's what the rule change calls for, right? The ATF has basically said, all the letters we gave you before that said, yes, you can sell that, it's definitely not a gun, are hereby rescinded. If you want to get another letter and you want to get our permission, send us the thing, any tools, any parts, any instructions, the packaging, and the marketing materials. That's completely ridiculous. But what's to stop a company like Polymer 80 from saying, okay, we're going to send you just this. We're going to send you this and this. We're going to send you this. We're going to send you this, this, and this. We're going to send you just this and this. We're going to send you just this and this. And you can 3D print this. And we're going to send you a link to where you can get the file. Like they could have sent them 50 different configurations to include different marketing and different packaging, different instructions or no instructions. Like they could have sent that. And my theory, what I heard was, well, we don't want to be told no. Then we're on the record as it being no. Well, okay, if you're just going to go ahead and sell things, then that's great. But since you're not selling anything, you may as well take the no, because to me, now FPC, GOA, Second Amendment Foundation, et al., when they go into court to fight this, they can say, look, this company in good faith sent 50 different configurations to the ATF trying to get this the way they wanted it, and the ATF said no to all of them. To me, that would have been an option. I can't believe no company has taken that option.
Well, Jordan's been in the chat here, and he's saying, look, he said stuff that's clearly not a firearm at the ATF for years. They're not saying anything. They refuse to make a determination.
Yeah, and so again, like I think Jordan, with JSD, they have a case, right? They can go and say, look, the ATF isn't doing their job. And this is what we've been saying this since the 80s, right? Enforce the laws on the books. Do the things you're supposed to do, right? Don't worry about creating new things to do. Like, do the things you're supposed to do. One of the things you're supposed to do is review these items that are sent in to say, is this a gun or is it not? Now, I get right now they can say, well, for the last 2 years, we've been thinking about how to define things, blah, blah, blah. Well, as of tomorrow, I would say that for JSD, the clock starts running again to where a certain number of days or months go by and they're back in court and saying, look, Your Honor, they have had these things. We get it. They were changing definitions, doing all that tomfoolery for 2 years. But now it's been another 6 months and they still haven't given us an answer. And at least you've got something to fight about. Because if these companies aren't going to send things in for review, it's really like giving up, right? It's like, okay, you win, ATF, we're not going to sell kits, which at the end of the day, I think that's what, gun controllers want one of three things. I don't think they want jails full of people, right? I think they want us to give up, right? Or they want to make it incredibly hard and cumbersome, or they want to make it very expensive. And if they can get the second two for the people that aren't going to give up, they still see it as a huge win.
Yeah, they do. I just to let you know, guys, I put the injunction, the denial of the injunction in the chat. One of the lawyers that worked on the case just sent me a sad face.
Sad face indeed.
Yeah.
So wait, is the frame and receiver rule going into effect at midnight tonight, or is that midnight Friday?
No, midnight tonight.
I think it's midnight tomorrow. Tonight. Midnight tonight.
Right. Yeah, it's
midnight. Guess
12:01.
Because it's as of the 24th.
Yeah.
The rule goes into effect on the 24th.
All right. Hey, Rich, I'm going to share something in a second. So let me just do this. I'm probably going to have to open it up. somewhere else. Just give me 1 second, Rich. Then I will save as.
I'm curious, is there anybody listening or anybody in the chat who is an online retailer who is confident and comfortable moving forward with the I'm selling this only plan? Because I'd love to hear, like, have you talked to lawyers? Have you talked to Polymer 80? Have you talked to the ATF? Because maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there's a good solid basis for thinking that's okay. Right now, it seems risky.
I would not want to be the test case.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's anybody in the chat, or if you guys have seen somebody advertising that, like, share this with them. Say, hey, Pincus is calling you out. I don't know. Maybe that usually gets people mad.
All right, I'm gonna do this, and Rich, since I have COVID brain, you are going to read this here.
Okay.
This is from.
Is in the private chat? Where is it?
No.
Jim Combs, I agree with you that Bruin can be used to get rid of these rule changes and get rid of a whole bunch of things. But until it does, you probably don't want to be the guy in jail pounding on the table saying, but Bruin, but Bruin.
All right, start reading, Rich.
All right, hold on. I gotta wait till it's on my phone right now. I gotta wait till it comes up on my. Finally, on August 22nd, 2022, the ATF issued corrections to the final rule. The corrections explaining that due to the complexity of this rulemaking process and the resulting significant number of comments and revisions in response, the final rule inadvertently contained some technical errors in the regulatory text that this document corrects. Definition of frame and receiver and identification of firearms corrections, 87 Fed Reg 51249, August 22nd, 2022. The corrections list 8 technical errors, noting it corrects those technical errors before, let's see, the final rule's effective date, that the same day plaintiffs filed a supplemental memorandum in the response to the ATF's notice of amended regulations, arguing that the ATF failed to publish its corrections as required by APA, among other things, Doc 83, blah. The court has independently reviewed corrections and disagrees. Here, the corrections were issued before the final rule's effective date and are simply correction of technical or.
That's all you really need to read.
So, yeah, I mean, the letter of the law says, hey, you can't just make changes, and they're going by the spirit of the law, it appears. But says, well, it's just kind of cleaning it up.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. I talked to Jordan this morning, and I was like, I don't know, man.
I'm kind of surprised they even bothered. Like, it would have been much less dramatic for them to wait until Friday or Monday and say, hey, here's some typos we need to correct in the new rules. Like, doing it the day before they go into effect, probably in the long run is cleaner, but it created a lot of drama today.
Yeah, but it would have. That would have been definitely challenged.
But see, the thing that pisses me off, and you know, any one of us working for an individual would get fired if we put out such faulty information. You know, it's not like they were told, hey, you need to do this in an hour, you know, corrections be damned, get it done. They had, 6 months to write this up. There was no issue about them having enough time or manpower to get it done and get it done correctly.
Well, okay. Well, there kind of was, because you got to remember the White House pushed them because they didn't want to. Originally, they were predicting June before the new rule would be unveiled. Then the White House went and told the Washington Post, "No, we're going to change that. We're going to speed that up. We're going to do it in a month."
Yeah, but even in a month, I think with a good-sized team, I'd be able to get a good document out.
I think there was like 7 people working on it.
My guess is there's still typos, and somebody's gonna, I mean, there's still things to be found in there. I mean, and again, I get the technical argument and the opportunity for a gotcha from our side if there's a reference paragraph E and it's really paragraph G, but I don't think that's where that's not where our arguments need to be resting, right? Our arguments are on the constitutionality, the freedom issues, the Second Amendment issues. At this point, there's private property issues too, right? Because just like what happened to me here in Denver in January, when I had to either destroy or get rid of all of my unserialized guns in one way or another, and I ended up having to lease space in a neighboring town to securely store my unserialized guns that are in Colorado. That's an effect on me because of my loss of property that the city and county of Denver don't care about. But it's still part of a potential court fight, and now I've got even more stuff that I can't have here in the city and county of Denver, even though the city council was assured by the city attorney's office, no, people can still have their parts. It's okay. We're not depriving them of anything, as if I could build a gun and disassemble it and still have the parts without being in possession of a gun. And that's even before the rule change. So, the city and county of Denver, and I think there's, I don't know if you guys know them, but I think there's a handful of other states where you can legally have the precursors, but you can't legally have unserialized guns. And until I think pretty recently, like California was one of them, right? You had to apply for a serial number. Then they changed it in California to where you can't have you can't even have the kits. Now, I don't know how
you can't even 3D print in California.
So I think Massachusetts would be an example right now where you can't have an unserialized gun, but you can have the kits. Because what happens on, again, Thursday, when the kit becomes a gun in the eyes of the federal law enforcement, what happens to all the kits that are unassembled in Massachusetts? Well, I would guess, I think in Massachusetts, you have 7 days from the creation of a firearm to report. They don't say register, they say report your gun. My guess is everybody who has an unfinished kit in Massachusetts needs to report their gun and put a marking on it, because that's what they require within 7 days of tomorrow.
Yeah, it just sucks.
And I don't know what, I can't see the chat, but if there's anybody out there doing the whole shall not comply thing, I've been saying it for the last couple of days. If you're going to be the guy that wants to go stand at your state capitol with your kit proudly unserialized and say, let me be the test case, cool. If you're just running your mouth on the internet, shush.
What I say is that, if whether you stand there and say shall not comply and stand at the Capitol with a kit or whatnot, that's gonna be on the individual, and you can't fault someone for not doing that because they have a family or whatnot.
What I don't want is for somebody to innocently, like accidentally, become the test case. So if you've got 3 kits hidden under your bed and you're hoping your ex-girlfriend doesn't rat you out, you took your chances. But if you really think, oh no, I was watching this guy on the internet, or I read this thing in a chat room and they said, as long as I put the jig in one room and the precursor in another room, I'm okay, I think you're treading in foolish territory. Like, do it willingly and do it knowingly, whether you do it openly or not, but don't do it accidentally because you listen to some trash on the internet. That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bad information out there. And there's a lot of bad information from people that are selling them, Did
anybody in the chat show up with hey, I'm doing it?
No,
I've been looking at the chat.
Rich monitors the chat.
Who is this? No Quarter Innovations LLC. Somebody sent me a text. The real 80% builder, Bruce Johnson. No Quarter Innovations LLC. They're almost done with their website, and they're going to be back up and running with no jigs or bits included at this time. And they're saying they're going to be selling their kits. So I'm hoping it works out for No Quarter Innovations LLC. Again, I don't know if they've talked to lawyers, if they talked to the ATF, or if they're just winging it. Hopefully they're going into it with their eyes open. And
please talk to lawyers.
What's that?
Please talk to lawyers if you're planning on doing it.
Remember, like, lawyers generally, like, if you're paying them, their job is to keep you out of trouble, right? Like, they're going to tell you, hey, you could get arrested. And then
they're not going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to
exactly. So that's why I said in one of my posts today, I'm like, call SAF, call FPC, call GOA, and say, hey, do you think this is okay? And if they say, sure, go for it, ask them if they're going to back the legal fees if it goes wrong. Right?
Well,
that's the magic question.
I don't think any of the 3 are going to say, "Sure, go for it."
I agree. Right, and that's where we are.
I know at least two, and they're saying, "Don't go."
Yeah, and I've had that conversation with especially SAF and FPC over the years about, there's a reason nobody's taking that hit as the NFA test case with their unregistered SBR on the state capitol steps, right? Because no one's going to back that play. It's foolish, and if you're the guy that has nothing to live for and nothing to lose, and you don't mind being in federal prison for a little while, I'll back you, man. I'll contribute to the fund. But I think most of us do much better. We have much more to offer our families, our friends, our communities, our country, and the cause of the Second Amendment by being out of jail and not facing criminal charges.
Well,
So
I had someone ask me, why isn't there a big push to use Bruin to get rid of the NFA? And my answer was, you got to look at your most likely to secede avenues, and going after the NFA, even though I believe the NFA is unconstitutional. I will say that right now. I do not like the NFA. I do not believe in the NFA. I think it's unconstitutional as hell. But I think it's a long shot for the NFA to be overturned anytime soon.
Yeah, only slightly less viable is the abolish the ATF. And I don't know why everybody's all excited about that. Like, all that means is all these duties would go to the FBI, which is much larger and at this point much more politically compromised in the bigger picture. So I don't know that we really want a bigger organization that has far greater infrastructure and is far more embedded with local and state law enforcement to be the agency that's over gun crimes.
I just think there's too many law enforcement agencies, to tell you the truth.
That too.
We have to be careful, though, right? Because we don't want to have a system like most of the world where there's just the federal police and there's a local office for the federal police, right? So we do like that kind of separation of the state and the federal powers. But I think, the federal agencies especially have gotten way too big.
I'm talking about the federal agencies. I'm not talking about like local, like sheriff's departments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the federal agencies. There's a lot of redundancy there.
So Ben Dover's asking about, are a mill and a lathe illegal now? Well, in California, if you have a ghost gunner, yes. So they're saying in California, if your primary use for a device like the ghost gunner is to mill receivers, that's illegal.
Yeah, that's part of the precursor law.
So somebody asked me yesterday, or maybe it was this morning, well, does that mean that Lowe's and Home Depot are going to be in trouble for having different sizes of pipes, right? Like, we all know you can make a zip gun with 2 pieces of pipe, different diameter, a nail, a spring, you're good. So
it's primary use.
Yeah. And what was interesting was that it was a comment, and it was like, should I call the ATF and let them know that Lowe's and Home Depot are doing this, right? And it's like, well, I know the guy was tongue in cheek and being facetious, but at the end of the day, like, what I'm trying to do and what you guys, as part of this broadcast we talked about earlier, what we're trying to tell the guy who doesn't really know what's going on, which, by the way, is all of us, not to leap forward because of a rumor and think you're okay. If you want to willingly say, I don't care, I'm willing to be the test case, drive on. But just because you heard Polymer 80 was doing something that there's actually no evidence Polymer 80 is doing, doesn't mean that you, as the online retailer guy with 50 kits in inventory, should try it based on that rumor. Lowe's isn't selling pipe because they don't think it's precursors to guns. Lowe's is selling pipe so you can do plumbing and whatever else. So I think that it's a little far-fetched. And again, you're not going to win in court against the ATF when you stand up in front of the judge and say, yeah, but Lowe's is selling pipe and they're not in trouble. You're going to go to prison.
Well, so tomorrow, this will be legal, and this will be legal. So AK flat, SETME flat, MP5 flat, legal, but not legal.
Yeah,
it's legal for you to have. It's not legal for a company to sell that kit.
Right.
I want to make sure that people understand that if you have it, unless you live in a place like Massachusetts or
New York, wherever.
New York they're already banned, but like in a place where kits are illegal right now, but you need to serialize them. If once you build it, tomorrow there is a little gray area now. So right now there's no gray area; it's black and white in like Massachusetts. But tomorrow that becomes gray. But I don't want people to think people in so-called free states where you're allowed to own the kits and build your own guns, whatnot. I don't want them to think that they're doing anything illegal by having this.
In fact, this kit is going, like I said, out of the city county of Denver tonight, so it won't be here tomorrow. And then Thursday, I'm taking it to Texas with me, and I'm building this gun in Texas because I'm, building in a bunch of different states. I had 2A 3D print made me those sweet back plates with all the different states. So that gun is going to be built in Texas. I'm going to put the little Texas back plate in it. I'm sure you all see pictures in social media, and I'll be like the 13th state I've built in. But then that gun can't come back to Denver unless I want it to serialize it, which I don't. So that gun will end up at my place in Florida.
I just want to do a shout out to Zabar out there, behind enemy lines in California.
Allegedly.
That's his thing. He always says allegedly. So basically, I took a snippet of him saying
allegedly.
So I have to follow him saying that now. Because his thing is, if I say allegedly, nothing counts.
I don't know if that's true, but allegedly.
Sure it's not.
Allegedly, it's true.
Pretty sure it's not. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I don't. I'm not surprised that the motion was denied, but I can't say that I'm not disappointed. I was holding out hope.
Well, I was kind of hopeful that we're going to get one of these people that I'm reading about on the internet who are going to be selling just the precursors as of tomorrow. I'm a little disappointed that none of them have showed up in the chat to talk about it. Because I really want, and again, maybe they have information that will change my mind on this. And that's what I was hopeful for.
Well, most of the sellers that come into my chat, I talked to today already.
Yeah, I get it. Like the big boys and the people that we know. I was talking to one guy today about the this issue of why and when we get charged, or we see people get charged with certain things, like the solvent traps, right? Solvent traps went on forever, and then all of a sudden, now there's people serving jail time over that. The wall hanger thing was around for quite a while. People ended up, the triggers, the forced reset triggers that just got people started getting knocks on the doors about those. They've been out there forever. Or the rear breed trigger. This does remind me of the late 80s, early 90s. It reminds me a lot of that. Like the rhetoric, of course, it's now amplified like a billion times just because of social media. But the way people are talking, and now it's combined with much more assertive overreach by law enforcement, where we're actually seeing the charges and we're seeing people getting convicted. We're seeing people get raided. We're seeing people get the cease and desist letters in the case of JSD earlier this year. I think we are in a very, very tense time. And again, that's one of the reasons that I suggest people proceed with caution, or boldly go forward, waiting for the handcuffs to show up, one or the other, not to just shrug it off and say, they're not going to enforce it. They're not going to come after me. Nobody's going to know, because that's going to be a traumatic wake-up call.
Yeah, well, it definitely is. The case is not over yet, but it's still rolling through. So we'll see what happens. Division 80, there's no update on that today besides a attorney backing out, which I'm surprised.
The lead attorney?
For the state, for the ATF.
Oh, okay.
Not Corey Lowe.
Got it.
And people were asking me, what does that mean that, the ATF switched attorneys? And it can mean something or it can mean nothing.
If
They've
nothing else, that almost always means that you've got another 60-day pause where nothing's going to happen until the new attorney can come up to speed on the case. Like that's pretty standard in any court case when a new attorney comes on.
Yeah, but the Division 80, they've already argued the preliminary injunction, so the judge will give that decision before the new attorney gets up to speed.
Hopefully.
But there will be a pause.
But I mean, if it doesn't come the next, I guess we're going with East Coast time, right? So if it doesn't show up in the next 6 hours, it's not really going to help.
I don't think it's going to show up in the next 6 hours. Neither
do I. Well, I guess is that is in Texas Central Time, right? So 7.
Yeah.
Somebody asked Swamp Dog ask in the chat about new polymer 80s, right? And I assume he means he didn't squish them together, so I assume he means any polymer kit. We don't know, and to me it's such an easy question for SS80, 80% arms, polymer 80. It's such an easy question for them to answer if they had an answer. I think the fact that we're hearing nothing and we're seeing nothing in the distributor channels or the wholesaler channels, that's telling me that they don't have any idea and they're not going to do anything until somebody else tests the waters. But maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised on Friday and Polymer 80 will do a big announcement about what they're selling.
Yeah,
I bet against that right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I feel bad for some of because I became really close friends with a lot of these people, in the industry, and what they're trying to say is they're trying to say these are the tools of bad guys, and but why would you want to build your gun if you're if you're a law-abiding citizen where you can buy one yourself? And it's like, hey, I like to build my guns myself. I like to have the experience. I like to work with my hands.
Yeah, I'm actually disappointed because up until as recently as my trip to Wyoming about 10 days ago, I'd have these kits with me, and I gave one to a guy in Wyoming 10 days ago that wanted to build one, right? And that's kind of what I'm like the Pied Piper of gun building, right? Like have a couple extra kits around because obviously I'm not paying full retail for them, so I've got them in the truck. I've got extra tools like sealed up from Harbor Freight. Like here, I'll sell you the tools, right? So I'll sell you the tools. I will give you the kit. And now you have your own tools, you have the kit, and I will guide people through the process of building. So as recently as 10 days ago, I did that with a guy in Wyoming. I can't do that this weekend in Texas because now technically the kit is a gun. And because I'm not a Texas resident, I can't legally transfer the kit to the person in Texas that might be watching me build that gun and also want to build one. They would have to have purchased that kit prior to today, or like today's the last day they can get it so that they can participate on Saturday with gun building. And it's incredibly ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's uncool and it's disappointing because this many more people are not going to be able to get into the hobby because it's now an extra layer of work they have to do to get a serialized kit, or I guess that's really it. I guess you could private transfer a kit. So like if there's somebody in Texas who has a kit, they could privately transfer it to somebody else who's a Texas resident.
Yeah, but it would be Texas resident. You can't go in there and do it.
Yeah. But yeah, so Swamp Dog, anyway, the bottom line answer is that's a great question for like all those companies. And I get a little frustrated with our community. Like I've asked and I have not gotten straight answers. I know a lot of retailers have asked and not gotten straight answers. But every one of you on the internet who's curious about this, hit Polymer 80's social media. Like send them a tweet, like tag them in a post, or just call the company. And if they get 500 calls in the next 24 hours saying, what are you guys going to do? I feel like they're going to have to come up with an answer and we can get off this pause button we've all been on.
Well, I know originally the rumor that they were going to sell the frames alone, that was their original plan the day after it came out. I don't know. I mean, but then they didn't talk about it anymore after that.
Yeah, the fact that it went quiet quick, I think says a lot.
Johnny 3 Bar wants to know, does this apply to 80% AKs and AR lowers too? And no, those are still okay.
Well, you talk about the metal ones are still okay.
Metal ones, yeah.
Yeah, but the polymer 80 kits, no. So the AK doesn't really have. I don't think there's an 80% style kit for AKs, right? That's all.
You can get. They sell them.
Do they? I've never seen one.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so I missed out.
They're actually two. There is a billet one, and then there's just like the flats.
Yeah, the flats are untouched. A lot of people like even the Mac side plates that we've seen for sale in the last few months. Those are not affected in any way. You know, like as you pointed out, John, it's important for people to remember that like 3D printing, right? Like I've got my 3D printers like right here, ready to go. Of course, I can't print frames in Denver anymore, but actually I have this sitting here, right? Because like if I do get rated, this 250 frame, it accepts the MUP, right? It accepts the trigger unit. That's the serialized part. This is just a piece of plastic. It's not actually a frame of a handgun. It's the grip module. But you can still 3D print stuff. You can still build the kits you've got. There's a lot of different things you can do in terms of gun building. You can still do the welds. You can still do the flats. You can whittle something out of wood. I saw in one of the YouTube channels with the roast last week. One of them had a wooden frame AR. Did you guys see that one?
No, I didn't see it.
Amazing. Yeah, somebody actually like wood shopped an AR lower. If you think about it, there's not a lot of bearing. That the tower for the recoil tube is about the most stressed part. So they actually hollowed it out and whittled it out of actual wood, and then built the gun around it. It's like, all right, cool, good for you, wooden AR builder guy.
Yeah. I was looking for one of the 80% AK lowers that are used in the Ghost Gunner. But it looks like
okay. So on the Ghost Gunner, when they say it mills an AK, I originally thought you could mill an AK flat, and it would drill the holes. But what they're doing on the Ghost Gunner is they're drilling the trunnions for the AK.
Yeah.
I mean,
or I should say CNC machining.
Yeah, machining. You'd be eating up 90% of the metal, but you could theoretically mill out an AK receiver.
Yeah.
I don't know if the volume on the Ghost Gunner is enough for that.
I mean, I don't know, but like,
not an AK guy.
Like Charles, what is it? Charles, I'm trying to think of the website that has them.
Is that a thing? Billet AKs?
Yeah.
It's fancy.
Yeah, there's billet AKs. A lot of the purists don't like them though.
Well, of course not. Of course.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. That's where they have them at. I knew my yep, and here's another guy. Oh, there you go, Rob.
Childers. All right, I'll look into that. I spent some time on a CNC with Mr. Snow back, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago during the winter, and it definitely made me feel like I need to have one of those machines and I need to have a shop. I've got access to my buddy's shop down in Florida, and we've got the Avidity Arms manufacturing facility, all that stuff. But I feel like if it were here in this room, it'd be awkward, but I would get more work done. Maybe not here in Denver, but again, in a place where I could do it.
And Night Strike built one.
Oh, did you do it? Did you do it? Night Strike? That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of people now. Everyone is.
I'm curious.
Like everyone out there knew it. I totally blanked out. Thank you guys so much.
Is it serialized or is it? I'm curious for Night Strike. Is it serialized or did he do it himself? Like he did the milling himself?
Well, if we got it from them, then he probably did the milling himself.
One would think, but who knows? I've seen all kinds of craziness.
And he have another unbuilt one.
Cool.
So there you go. Yeah, so they sell them. A lot of people like them.
Yeah,
I have not done it.
So another aspect of what's happening this week is the Nah, serialized. See, see, you can't jump to the conclusion that it's always unserialized, even some of the privately built stuff. But I think there's another aspect of this rule change, and I was really curious about seeing the rule changes this morning because now I get it, Nice Strike. I wasn't taking a shot. I was just saying a lot of people serialize the guns anyways. Obviously, California, Massachusetts, people do it because it's just at the end of the day less headaches. I think the other aspect that I was worried about the change affecting is, remember, there's that clause in here that says if the Type 1 regular FFL takes a unserialized gun or a privately manufactured firearm PMF into their inventory overnight for purposes of, and they list a couple things. One of them is for transfers, which opens a door, I think, because I don't know anybody who's crossed the line of selling a privately made gun, right, or transferring it. Like I've always said, like, I can't even, the fact that I can't 3D print a cool design gun to give to my daughter is just ridiculous, right? But if I build it designed for her, like with butterflies and pink flowers or whatever, then clearly I had the intent of transferring it to her, and that is not a privately made gun for me. It's kind of like a straw purchase, right? If I go into the store to buy it for someone else, it's a straw purchase. We know that. So now that they're saying, well, there's a transfer, I'm thinking, okay. So I reached out to one of the guys who's one of the innovative designers in 3D printing world on unique gun design stuff, and I said, listen, man, because of this clause in there, when this goes into effect, one of the things I'd be curious about is, you've got some what I consider real pieces of history, like history of 3D printed guns, histories of gun making, history of innovation, technical history, like from a 3D printing standpoint, forget about firearms. You've got these really cool things in your collection. If you ever wanted to get rid of one, I would love to have one of your creations in my collection, but we'd have to find an FFL who would take it from him, mark it with the serial number as the rule change now calls for, with the specific digits from the FFL number and the unique number, and then transfer it to me. I'm still interested in doing that. I still think that that's something that this now creates an opportunity to do without the gray area, right? I mean, we get it. It's the ATF. It's all gray area. But now the fact that there actually is the word transfer in the new rules opens up the door for that. So again, it doesn't mean you can privately make guns with the intention of selling them, but years later, you don't like it, doesn't fit your hand, you need the money to pay some bills. There is now a mechanism for that, which I think is interesting.
All right, guys, we have another update here. The government has already jumped on this, and I'm going to throw this in the thing. In the Division 80 case, citing the rejection of Morehouse and saying, hey, it was rejected here, so you should go along with it.
That's as a fair enough. So they weren't just rejecting today's changes. They've completely said we're not going to give a stay or an injunction.
No, yeah. So I mean, they haven't even had that hearing yet, but basically, this is based on the changes.
I don't know how, like, did Division 80 go back to their court also and say, hey, they've made changes?
No, but
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
But one of the things that the judge stated is the likelihood that they would succeed on the merits of the case. And then there they said it wouldn't be the likelihood. So that's what they're citing in the Division 80 case. So they just submitted that.
Yeah, printing with Peak. I don't know that's been clear, right? So have you done it? I'm curious. Printing with Peak, have you done that? Because that was not clear. Type 7 FFLs have to put the manufacturer, the city. They have very specific rules, but that has not been clear for PMFs. But I'm curious if you've tried it and it's gone through and it's been fine.
No, I mean, I'll send you a letter up from the ATF saying, but who knows? It's a brave new world as of midnight tonight.
Right.
But yeah, we had it in writing somewhere. I just gotta find it where they said you're allowed to sell. You're allowed to sell.
If that's your real name, I don't know what you're talking about. like, again, there's 500 different regulations out there. All you have to do is proudly violate any of them and take the hit, get arrested, and fight this in court. If you want to be the do not tread guy, go for it. If what you're saying is the do not tread guys are mostly full of shit, I agree with you 100%, and I say that all the time. The guys that are telling you shall not comply have concealed carry permits. They are complying. They fill out 4473s, and most of them have SVRs and tax stamps for silencers and everything else.
Mooseman 684. Yeah, privately made firearms do not have to have a number. Unless
Well, when it's in the builder's possession, but my understanding is, like, if I wanted to sell it to John, that I would have to put a serial number on it.
A private,
if you go through an FFL. See, I still maintain that, like Florida resident to Florida resident, you and I should be able to sell you one of my privately made guns without any markings, without any record of the transaction history, because it's just like me selling an old gun that I bought in the 1990s
Right.
that I don't want anymore. However, I don't know anybody who's actually tested that theory, because all of us realize that's very gray.
Yeah. No, we'll see what happens here.
We will. I know we're coming up on an hour. I got a couple of things to do before the dinner bell rings here in Colorado. But I appreciate you guys having me on today to talk about this stuff. I think it is important. And since I'm currently suspended from lives on most social media platforms, appreciate you guys daring to let me guest with you guys.
They really cracked down on people. Shooting Gallery in New England, he got suspended for a video that was like years old, and it was like how to lubricate a firearm, which according to YouTube is totally okay.
Yeah. My YouTube suspension right now, the Facebook suspension is because of the inscription on the Fremont Knife Company where it says, "Don't cut yourself with this, but if you do, send us pictures." They consider that advocating for self-harm. So that's how I got suspended for 30 days on Facebook. On YouTube, I'm suspended for a 14-month-old video on how to use the Primary Arms online store to buy gun parts if you're getting ready to build something for the gunmakers match.
Yeah.
Wow.
GB, no one's giving up. We're just giving the news that is coming out today. The fight will go on, and this will go on higher. I know that if GOA loses that, at least I know GOA's case, and I would guess Polymer 80's case, and I would guess FPC's case. If they lose at the district level, they're going to appeal to the circuit level. And that circuit court where North Dakota is a very good circuit to be in for gun rights. And not only for gun rights, but that circuit has a history of ruling against Chevron, which could be huge here, especially with WV versus EPA.
Yeah, I expect that case. People are asking a lot about that case. I think it will be cited in these different cases on the Second Amendment side, because there's a corollary between the rulemaking of the EPA and the rulemaking of the ATF. But again, we can't just pound on the table and say, but the West Virginia case, they can't do this. Like, that's not how reality works, guys. So GB, again, realism isn't defeatist. And like I said, I'm building guns this weekend. The fact that I'm not building guns in Denver this weekend is because I don't want to go to state prison or city jail either. And I think that's okay. That nobody's saying, "Oh, give up and walk away." I think you're misreading the tone here.
Yeah. FD Boss, do you think that there will be a challenge to the ATF like the I guess the EPA versus WV versus EPA? There is. The bump stock case is challenging on Chevron, saying that you use Chevron for a criminal matter, and I think that's what a lot of people lose. There's a case if we secede at the Supreme Court level, or even at the district level, but at the Supreme Court level, that will put a big hole in these new regulations. I say we as the gun world, I guess. And you got to remember, they lost an 8-8 split at the circuit because they applied intermediate scrutiny. which is not a thing anymore.
You're talking about the bump stock case recently?
Yeah. They applied intermediate scrutiny.
And that's going to go up. Yeah.
So they're going to have to rehear it again. And remember, it was an 8-8 split, and they lost on an intermediate scrutiny, which have not existed anymore. So
I hold that we are going to continue to regain our rights, just like we did with Bruin, just like we have with concealed carry all over the country. We'll continue to do that, but in the meantime, I don't want to see more of my friends end up in handcuffs, or even getting the knock at the door saying, "Give me the thing that you bought that you knew you weren't supposed to buy because of a mistake." Buy it all day long if you just want to be a rebel. Cool, I get it, but don't do it thinking it's okay.
The next step in the FPC hasn't. I mean, they filed, but that's in the very, very early stages. GOA case, there will be a complete hearing. There won't be a preliminary injunction, but there still could be a permanent injunction or anything else like that. And if they do not succeed at the district level, they will go for the circuit level. I can guarantee you that.
All right, I'm jumping out, guys.
Right.
Drink plenty of fluids there, Crump. Get some rest.
Yeah. I ate one Pop-Tart in the last 5 days.
Why are you in Florida most of the time and I'm in Colorado most of the time, but I have a better tan than you? This is something you need to work on.
I'm an IT guy. I don't get out.
Fair enough. All right. It is what it is.
All right. Later. Yeah. So.
And skin cancer.
Oh yeah. So it really sucks, guys. We did not touch the rare breed subject. We can't.
Wow.
Rifle Ready 2000. Remedy 2000. Yes. That dude turned over your information, guys. There you go. That was one of the guys on Gunbroker that turned over everyone's information. The ATF.
Whoa.
I'll tell you what happened with him. This is all brand new shit. It's more than just Rifle Remedy 2000, who's still selling there. He was one of them. What happened was the ATF did some controlled buys, right? And they figured out where these sellers lived and who they really were. Then, this is my video coming out tomorrow, so I'm kind of ruining it. Whatever. Hopefully, watch my video tomorrow because I'm kind of ruining it now. Then they went to, for example, Rifle Remedy 2000, which was one of them. I said, "Hey, we know you're selling these triggers. Give us all the information that you have about these guys." And the dude, and not only him, there were several others, said, "Here you go." And yeah, and gave it all away. Yep. Ting, you are exactly right. ATF snitches.
Yep.
So Rifle Remedy 2000 turned over a lot of information. There's other people. I'm making a spreadsheet with everyone's name, and I'm gonna.
Wow.
I am. People think that they're able to hide behind their name. I have a particular set of skills.
And John Crumb.
And Rich can attest to that. I'll find
out.
Not
John Crumb.
Yeah, I heard he gift wrapped it, maybe. So
Allegedly.
So I looked him up today on Gunbroker. Apparently, I owe money to Gunbroker, which I gotta pay because I didn't know I owed money. But yeah, right now he is still selling a bunch of knockoff stuff. So let me bring him up really quick. I'll show you. So this is one of it. Yeah. It's really funny that you brought up the names. Anyone that I already have his name, but I'm working on the other ones.
So you're saying since they drop dime on everybody else, you're going to drop dime on them?
I would never do that, Rich. Would I?
I don't know. It's not like calling the Attorney General of California, is it?
On live streaming, giving out his phone number, his wife's phone number. Look, these selling handguards, some optics that are knockoffs. But this dude right here, this guy right here is one of the people that turned over the information. He's probably the biggest one that turned over the information. A lot. He sold a lot of triggers on Gunbroker.
Wow. And what kind of triggers are we talking about?
Yeah, look at this. Like rare breed. And look at this right here. This ACOG that he's selling for
$100?
$110.49.
Wouldn't you go near that? Only as a joke. As a joke, yes.
Yeah, so not only is he turning over information, but he's also a scammer that's selling like knockoff shit. So, the Glock sights, Glock OEM night sights for $29.
Ouch. Wouldn't go near that.
Yeah.
$24.99 fiber optic. Wow. Hate to tell you what I paid.
Yeah, so right here. With the TACCON 30.
So it's an FRT, okay.
Like FRT.
A WOT.
So I'm working with some people and I'm making a list. Check my phone. Okay, let me see.
So, James Miller, 80% jigs for AR lowers are not affected, as long as you buy them separately, and that's my understanding.
Yeah. Oh, it breaks my heart, man. No, like somebody who lost something today just like texted me, just like feel so bad because we worked so hard. I mean, like, I don't know, man.
Crumpy, I think it's time to go.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm getting pissed off. I'm about to go crump mode. But yeah. Corn. Somebody said check my phone, and I'm checking my phone. I'm not seeing anything. I think you might have sent this to the wrong place, bud.
I didn't get anything.
Oh, it just came through. What? Somebody's latest project.
It rotated. It's back. Can't quite tell what that is. Oh, 50 cal.
Yes.
Ma deuce. Nice.
Yep. And that is Corn Pop. Corn Pop, man, you got to come out to the shoot. All right, guys. Yep. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I'm dropping the new video on I'm not naming anyone in the new video. But I am building my list, and I will be checking it twice. Like Santa Claus, you don't want to be naughty; you should be nice. With that, we are out of here. Corn Pop is a bad dude. Thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow.
Allegedly.
if I'm feeling okay. Like today, I was gonna cancel, but I kind of had a feeling that this was gonna come down, but whatever. And yes, all right, guys. Rich, tell people where they can find you.
Flying Rich everywhere except Instagram, where I'm Flying Rich Official, and what else? I don't know. But Flying Rich, YouTube, Instagram, MySpace, OnlyFans, Locals, all that.
Thank you so much, Corn Pops Revenge. I am a bad dude, and so is Rich. I'm trying to get my live channel above 4,000. I haven't been really pumping it too much. So if you're on the John Crump News channel, there's a John Crump Live channel where we do shows like this 4 days a week. It's a lot of fun, and you guys can join us. So, yep, there it is. And I'm gonna go pass out. What? Thanks for
Better, Crumpy. Feel better, man.
That article you wrote that Eric did a show on was great. I'm not sure which show that he did it on, what article he did it on, but I will text him. I'm in like a big inner circle chat group. All right, guys. I'll see you later, and I love you very much. Stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keep in the fight.